so much bad marriage advice. And when we take it, our relationships suffer. So, a warm welcome on this very exciting day. What would you like to say this morning?
Oh, I'm just so excited. It's been amazing. There's been an outpouring of love. I feel like I talk about it nonstop. It's like the only thing that, like, on my mind, the thing I can talk about on social media. But my kids have been super supportive. My husband was really supportive. He rolled over a couple of days ago and he's like, "Your book launches this week." I was like, "I know, it's been such a long journey to get to this point, and I'm really excited that people can actually order it and get their hands on it."
There's so many different motivations that people have, or, what gets that book started from an idea. Sometimes it doesn't even start as an idea. Your story is just the most magnificent origin story for a book. Will you share it?
So my 21-year-old son, who had been home from a church mission for only a few months, came to us and said, "I've met the girl. I want to get married. She's the only one." And it was really funny because my husband was like, "You should go back to school and you should just walk around campus and just see if anyone piqued your interest. If there's anyone at all that you would even consider going on a date with, you should ask them out." And my son was like, "Why would I do that?" We were like, "Okay." So he's made up his mind. They're young. They were perfectly in love. They had great parents, great modeling. And so I was like confident that he had made a good choice. But at the same time, I was like, there's so much I feel like these kids need to know. They're so young and they're going to get so much advice, well intentioned, I'm sure, from people who love them, who mean well. But a lot of the advice that my husband and I got when we were getting married was absolutely terrible. And I lost years, decades of sleep and like connection and just feeling close to him because we were like, well, these people who know, who've been married a long time, they know what they're talking about, and that we should not be listening to that advice. And the through line through the entire book really is, does this little quippy, cliche, easy to say, sounds like it makes sense, does it engender lazy communication? Because if it is, then it's really bad advice. And if it challenges you to grow a little bit, to get out of your comfort zone, to say the hard thing, have the hard conversation, like learn a new skill, then it's probably good advice. And so that's what the book is all about. It's calling out these quippy little bad pieces of marriage advice and replacing them with really good communication skills that we should be teaching our kids at really young ages, but unfortunately, we are not.
Yeah, I love the transmission in what you said, because basically young people, for that matter, people in every generation. And I mean, I'm guessing that when people have been married for 40, 50 years, people aren't giving marriage advice, at least not unsolicited marriage advice. But there's a long way to go before people stop giving advice. And I really love the notion of taking especially unsolicited, but even solicited advice, and taking it instead of the prescription for how to do things, to almost take it as like a conversation prompt. Like, how would it be if we did this? And what would the consequences be? How would you feel? How would I feel? And just talking about this reminds me, so you and I have a lot of differences and a lot of similarities in our journeys. We've both been married about the same time. We both have 4 children, and we both had our oldest child get married this spring.
So sad.
It really is. So my oldest is a daughter, and when she got married, there was a celebration in the week afterwards that involved, I'm not sure, maybe there were 30 people there. And the person who hosted it, it was such a beautiful idea. She wrapped up all of these different kitchen gadgets, and everyone was given one. And then the kitchen gadget was a gift for the bride and groom, but we were supposed to, based on the actual kitchen item, give some relevant advice and guidance to the couple. So I don't remember what some of them were, but maybe like one was an egg timer, and it was about something about paying attention to when things are ripe to consume or bring to the table. I don't remember. There was a whole bunch of things, but the reason I'm telling this story is that there was a man probably in his 30s. He's a father, and then his father. They were both there, and even though they got completely different kitchen gadgets, they both gave the same guidance and information, which was basically, she's always right.
I could totally guess that before you even finished the story because men love to say that, right? And it's so funny because you see on social media, they have all of these little skits where like some guy will be walking around on, on the beach or something, and he'll stop this older couple and he'll be like, "What's your best marriage advice?" And they're always like, the husband's always like, "Oh, she wears the pants. As long as she's happy, you're doing your job." Like just and it's so silly. Like if you really think about that, it's easy to say, it's quippy, and it sounds so nice. Like especially if you're the wife, you're like, "Yeah, that's right. I'm always right," right? But if you dissect that and really think about the actual consequences of that is you have one partner who's in charge of the emotional thermostat of the family, like because we all know that 50% of your emotions are going to be negative, right? So 50% of the time, most humans are not happy. And so, like, now we're prescribing that it's the wife's job to be happy. And if she's not happy, then not only is she doing something wrong, but the husband's doing something wrong because he's supposed to be keeping her happy. And how are we really going to have a relationship with the foundation of only one person gets their way and the other person just has to suck it up and do whatever she wants?
He has the say so, and it's her job to just accommodate all of his spoken and unspoken whims. Like, we know that model. So to antidote that culturally, we go from, the patriarchal thing that treats the woman like a bug under our feet, basically, except when it's time to make babies and cook dinner. But like, her opinions and personality have no place. We go the other direction to happy wife, happy life. And honestly, I think that that's human nature, to kind of accommodate and go too far. But that's like, either we do what our parents do or we do the opposite. And in both cases, we're influenced by what they were doing.
You have a whole book about uncompromising intimacy. Mine is just one chapter on whenever you ask an older couple, "What's your secret? How have you stayed happy all these years?" is compromise, right? And I think we both hear that word and go, "No, there's a better way," right? But I think this happy wife, happy life and the learn how to compromise are just basically two ways to say the same very dysfunctional thing.
And these things like work their way into our minds. So your book accomplishes something amazing in really inviting the bad marriage advice to become something that actually is helpful, but also to point out the advice we've all absorbed without even being aware of it. I think it's so amazing. And actually, it's funny that you say that. I wrote a whole book on, although it's not that long a book, but a whole book on not uncompromising intimacy. But you have me thinking, oh, I want to write a whole book inspired by each one of your chapters, because every chapter you cover is just so important. So if somebody wants to get this book, I take it as an important book for anyone interested in relationship, like anyone who's a grown-up who cares about relationships. You might be single, you might be dating, you might be engaged, you might be married. It just sounds like such an important book because it helps clarify what we've absorbed from the collective and then take what is relevant and make it personal. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just updating the marriage advice because both of those, happy wife, happy life, is a response to very outdated advice, and it's attempt to update it, but it's terrible. And then this idea of compromising, it's just outdated. I mean, we expect so much from modern marriage, and it's just time to update these things in a way that's actually effective for us. And the other thing is communication. Learning relational and communication skills works in every relationship, whether you're talking about your marriage or a work relationship with your neighbors, your children. These things work in all different uh, relational scenarios, which is really what we're doing here, right?
What's the relationship between all of the research you did with the couples who've been married over 50 years and bad marriage advice? Because I'm sure a lot of what was shared by those older, wiser, experienced couples actually is represented in bad marriage advice, no?
The thing is, like, gone are the days when, like, the husband gets a job and works, for 50 years for the same company and gets a pension. And, like, nowadays, modern marriage, everything has to be renegotiated multiple times over and over and over again over the lifespan, right? It's like, you work different jobs, you work in different ways. There's so many options. There's so many ways we can raise our kids and make money. And so all of these things have to be renegotiated all the time. And that requires really good communication skills. That requires like you seeing me and like me seeing you and us having to go through different options and talk about like what's meaningful to me and what's meaningful to you and how do we put together the best of what you want and the best of what I want and to create the best situation for all of us. And then trying that for a little while, and if that doesn't work, we put it all back out on the table and we have new data and we renegotiate. Right? And so that's what has to be done throughout marriage now. And so learning those relational skills, yes, is like utmost importance.
It's beautiful. And I can't resist adding that one of the prerequisites for good communication is some minimal amount of self-awareness. It's like you have to know yourself well enough to be able to then communicate well. Well, I am so excited. Everybody who watches this should be getting bad marriage advice on Amazon, available, and give it to your friends, because a world where people have good advice, are implementing things well, is absolutely the world that's better for all of us.